You know, every single day, we all make choices about what to buy. It could be something small, like your morning coffee, or something huge, like a new car. But behind all those little decisions, there's this really powerful economic force that explains the why. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most basic ideas in all of economics: demand. So just think for a second. What's the last thing you bought, and why'd you buy it? Was it the price? Was it just an impulse? Or was it something else entirely? Go ahead and hold that thought, because we're about to see how that exact feeling fits into a much bigger picture. All right, first things first. In just regular conversation, we throw the word demand around all the time. But in economics, oh, it has a very, very specific meaning. And trust me, it's a lot more than just wanting something. And here it is, the key definition. See, for something to be considered economic demand, it needs three things. You've got to desire it, you've got to be willing to pay for it, and, this is the big one, you've got to actually have the ability to pay for it. You miss any one of those pieces, and it's just not demand in the eyes of an economist. This little comparison really nails the difference. Just wishing you could own a car, that's a want. But having the desire and the income to actually go out and purchase one, now that's demand. Your want has turned into a real, actionable plan. At the end of the day, in economics, money talks. Okay, so we figured out what demand is. Now let's get into the main rule that governs it all. This is honestly one of the most important laws in economic theory, and it describes a behavior that you're already totally familiar with. And there you have it, the law of demand. It's really just a simple inverse relationship. I mean, think about it. When your favorite coffee shop has a half-price sale, you're probably more likely to grab a cup, right? And when the price of gas skyrockets, you might think twice about that long road trip. That's it. That's the law of demand playing out all around us. So we can actually map this relationship out in a simple table, which we call a demand schedule. Let's stick with coffee. As you can see, when the price per cup drops, the number of cups someone is willing to buy each week goes up. At $4, maybe it's a once-a-week treat, but at $1.50, suddenly that could become a daily ritual. And what's cool is, if you take those numbers from the schedule and plot them on a graph, you get this, the demand curve. And because of that inverse relationship we just talked about, lower price, higher quantity, that curve is pretty much always going to slope downward from left to right. Okay, so far it's all been about price. But what happens when other things in your life change? What if you get a big raise at work? Or what if a new study comes out saying coffee is the healthiest thing you can drink? Things like that can totally change your buying habits, no matter what the price is. So let's see how that works. Now, this is a really key distinction. When only the price of the coffee changes, we don't draw a whole new curve. We're just moving up or down along the one we already have. We're just sliding from that $4 point down to the $2 point on the same line. But when one of those other factors changes, like say your income goes up, the whole relationship between price and quantity gets a rewrite. This causes the entire demand curve to literally shift. It moves to the right if demand increases, or it moves to the left if it decreases. And here are the main culprits. These are the shift factors: a change in your tastes, a change in your income, or even a change in the price of something related, like tea. So, for example, if you get that big pay raise, suddenly a $4 coffee doesn't seem like a big deal. You might start buying it twice a week instead of once. That new willingness to buy more at every single price level is what shoves the whole curve to the right. All right, so we've got this core rule. The demand curve slopes downward. Price goes up, demand goes down. Simple. But like any good rule, the law of demand has some really fascinating exceptions. Times when human behavior gets, well, a little weird. So this economist, Thorsten Veblen, he noticed something interesting about luxury goods. We're talking diamonds, fancy handbags, supercars. For these kinds of things, a higher price can actually increase demand. Why? Because the high price tag is part of the appeal. It's a signal of status and prestige. We call this the Veblen effect. Okay, now this one is seriously strange. A Giffen good is a very specific and pretty rare exception. The classic textbook example is about poor workers whose diet is almost entirely a cheap staple, like bread. Now, if the price of bread goes up, they have to spend more of their tiny income just to get by. That leaves them with even less money for anything more expensive, like meat. So what do? They stop buying meat altogether and end up buying even more bread because it's all they can afford. It's wild. A higher price leads to higher demand. And for our last point,
Let's talk about how our demand doesn't just exist in a bubble. Especially today, in our super connected world, what other people are buying and doing has a massive influence on our own choices.
This idea is called a network externality. The classic example used to be the telephone. I mean, what good is one telephone? It's useless. But the more people who own a phone, the more valuable yours becomes. The exact same thing is true for social media apps or video games today. Their value literally grows as more and more people join in.
And this social influence can pull us in two totally opposite directions. On one hand, you have the bandwagon effect. That's the desire to be in style, to have the thing that everyone else has, like a viral fashion trend. But then you have the snob effect, which is the complete opposite. This is the desire for something exclusive, like rare art or a limited edition watch. Here, the value comes from the very fact that almost no one else has it.
So the next time you feel that urge to buy something that's suddenly everywhere, just ask yourself, is this true demand, something driven by my own wants and needs, or am I just jumping on the bandwagon? The answer doesn't just tell you about economics. It might just tell you a little something about yourself.